Hi guys, we've just arrived at the hotel for Low-Carb down
And
under.
look at our view, we're right on the ocean.
Beautiful view.
So pretty. So this was at the Sheraton Mirage on the Gold Coast, so it's kind of near SeaWorld if anyone knows.
And
the
it's
Gold Coast.
where the actual conference is being held. So it's good, we're nice and close. It starts at 8 on Saturday morning, so both mornings I think it starts at 8. So Saturday is quite a long day, 8 till 6.
Yep.
We've already encountered Dave Feldman in the hallway, giving him a little bit of a...
Dan's got a
I've got my...
kick-ass keto
I think he's kind of seen it at Keto Fest, so he was kind of like, oh, hi. A bit awkward, but he was just hanging out in the hallway.
And there's like a drinks, canapes, kind of meet and greet thing, I guess, on tonight that we're both like...
We're feeling a little bit awkward about that, but we'll go and we'll put in an appearance.
At those things.
We're not very good at kind of small talk or anything, but we'll...
At least we've got each other, I guess. We can just stand in the corner.
And yeah, we're not good at talking to the speakers or anything either, because I feel very intimidated.
I don't have anything to say to them. Yeah,
I feel very intimidated.
Yeah, but we're really excited. There's some really cool speakers that are speaking.
Yeah.
Who are you excited about?
Well, Steve Finney is the draw card. He's the highlight of the event. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him, because neither of us have seen him before.
No.
Of quite a few of the others we've seen before at either Keto Fest or...
I didn't see Dave Feldman at Keto Fest because he was in your...
Oh yeah, I saw him.
We had to split up, so I'm interested in seeing him. And we really liked Dr. Paul Mason at the other Low Carb Down Under event we went to, so I'm sure he'll have a super interesting and in-depth talk that'll strain our brain.
On Sunday morning, I think there's more of a kind of practical section where it's kind of talking about people's experience and stuff like that, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so we're off to the canapes thing in a few minutes, so wish us luck. And we'll keep you updated on how the conference is going.
We're out for our morning walk before Low Carb Down Under starts. The beach is beautiful, but there is a bit of a downfall of the beaches in Australia. There's lots and lots of blue bottles. They've all washed up on the sand, and it's not really pleasant just walking on the beach, because you've got to keep an eye on the blue bottles. So we won't be swimming in the water while we're here, because they hurt. They wrap around your leg and they can... Okay, we're just out for our morning walk. The beach is beautiful here.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
We went to the drinks canapes last night. We struggled. We struggled with... What did you said that you felt inadequate?
Yeah, I just feel like, why would anyone want to talk to me when they're like
a
doctors or you know, medical professionals, or I don't really have anything to contribute.
Yeah, and it's always awkward anyway. Like, I talked to a couple of people, but it was a little awkward, which it always is anyway for everyone in that situation. But yeah, we struggled. We were there for about an hour. We met some friends from the Keto Kick-Ass Bitches group, which was nice, and hopefully we'll get to speak a bit more to them. It was super loud as well. Neither of us have a hearing loss, and it was really difficult to
you have to be really close to people.
Yeah, so we lasted an hour. We came back to the room and ordered some salads from room service, which were really, really yummy.
Yeah, I had a chicken Caesar and you had like a Chinese chicken one. It was really nice, and then we pretty much went to sleep.
Had an early night because it's a big day today. Starts at 8. We're just getting an early morning walk in.
Yeah.
And we'll let you know how the speakers go later on. moments. We're up early, just after 5 for a walk. It's beautiful.
So pretty.
Sun,
so nice. We're enjoying being at the beach.
And we're in shorts and t-shirts, 5 o'clock in the morning. We had a really good day yesterday.
Oh my gosh, there was talks pretty much from 8 till 4.
6.
Oh, till 6.
Yeah, it was a long day.
Our brains were totally drained.
It was probably a lot focused on pitching to GPs and health professionals, but
some of it was a bit over our heads.
Yeah, but the last session of the day was probably the best one for just regular low carbers or people that are just starting out.
Yeah.
And today we've got some more, there's more of a kind of case study.
Yeah, so there's some GPs talking about case studies from their practices, and there's a few other talks. So
Paul Mason hasn't talked yet, so I think he'll be on today.
Yep.
Peter Bruckner's going to talk today as well.
Yes, and Steve Finney again, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the highlight of the day, highlight of the day yesterday, we were just sitting with some friends having lunch, and Steve Finney just said, "Can I join you guys?" We're like, "Oh, yeah, if you like." And the doctors that we were sitting with were really pretty excited.
I thought you were going to say, just randomly, the people that came and sat next to us, the lovely lady Sue and her partner, they knew our blushes. I know who you are.
And they're like, "Oh, we make your savoury muffins."
I know, that was weird.
Yeah, so it's been really good day one, and we'll check back in and let you know how the rest of the
And we met Aaron from Fat for Weight Loss. He's got an awesome keto YouTube channel.
And a good blog.
And he was lovely.
He was lovely. So we've been trying our best to meet people and go up to people.
Very good at that.
And we'll check back in after the conference finishes. Bye. We just wanted to update you guys with our top 10 takeaways from Low Carb Down Under on the Gold Coast. It was a 2-day conference.
The second day's just finished, and now there's like a massive
big
thunderstorm outside.
And
so
it's a bit dark,
thunder and lightning, that's what the noise is.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 each. Do you want to start?
I'll start. Okay. So
not in any order. This is just
our own
that we
things. It'll be different for everyone. Well, not number one, but one of my big takeaways was a talk from a dietitian called Nicole Moore. She talked about irritable bowel syndrome and implementing low FODMAPs. Now, I have probably buried my head in the sand when it comes to my gut issues, and because I didn't want to do anything.
Starting keto.
And I didn't want to do anything about it. I've had it all checked medically and it's fine, but it's not normal. So my takeaway was that I probably need to implement low FODMAPs or look into changing that a little bit. She mentioned raspberries, and I realised at Christmas raspberries were a
high FODMAP food.
Yeah, and they were a definite problem for me because I had some on several different days, and about half an hour after eating them I was in quite significant pain in my stomach. And so I haven't really had them since Christmas, but when she mentioned that as a high FODMAP, I was like, yeah, okay, I need to maybe focus on that.
Did you notice any improvement when we did our like carnivore kind of experiment, because
I wasn't getting the pain.
We wouldn't have been eating any low FOD, like any FODMAPs then, because we weren't having any plants.
Well, my bowel movements didn't change, but my gut pain did.
Right.
Second one.
Yeah, second takeaway was about cholesterol. So both Dave Feldman and Dr. Paul Mason spoke about cholesterol that really resonated with me, because since I've been on a ketogenic diet, my LDL cholesterol and my total cholesterol has been slightly high, but my triglycerides are low and my HDL is high. So after listening to both of those speakers, I now feel pretty confident in that I'm okay. I don't need to be concerned about my cardiovascular disease risk because of what they spoke about with if you have low triglycerides and high HDL, it's fairly indicative that you won't have the bad kind of LDL in your cells.
What did he call it? Oxidized, or there was...
Yeah, so what happens to the LDL in your blood, sorry, there was just a big lightning. I was waiting for the thunder. In your bloodstream, the LDL cholesterol in your blood gets glycated, so it gets damaged by the blood glucose in your blood. Yep. Your glucose in your blood. So that is then what causes the cholesterol getting stuck in your arteries. Well, this is my understanding. So it's actually the sugar that is the problem, not the cholesterol. So if you're taking all that stuff out of your diet and you have good blood sugars, which I do because I test mine, then, and also your triglycerides are low, your HDL is high, then most research points to the fact that that indicates that your high LDL is not a problem. So that was a good takeaway for me.
Okay, takeaway number 3. This is not so much related to any of the talks, but me personally, I definitely struggle with talking to other people in that kind of setting.
We're not good minglers.
I am not really very good at the small talk, and I have a pretty bad resting bitch face, so I'm probably
really bad.
am not approachable.
No.
But we did make a bit of an effort with a few different people, and it was totally worth it.
Yeah, and we had two lovely ladies, Sue and Cap, came up and spoke to us because they'd seen our blog or they'd seen us on YouTube, so that was super nice. I'm so glad that they did.
Yeah. And I have to get over it because I miss out on meeting awesome people, so I need to build my confidence that it's okay to just talk to people. I mean,
I struggled in that circumstance because I felt inadequate because it was all medical professionals. So I was like, what am I talking to people about? Yeah, that's a good takeaway.
It's not one specifically from speakers from the conference, but something that I learned from the conference anyway.
Okay.
Number 4.
Number 4. So there was this talk from Jessica Turton, and she was speaking about disordered eating. And I think when I saw it in the program, I just, in my head, saw eating disorders and thought, well, anorexia, bulimia, that doesn't apply to me, so I wasn't as interested. But then she explained the difference between an eating disorder, like anorexia or bulimia, the thunder in the background, versus disordered eating, which every single thing that she listed, I was like, yep, tick, 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 that's me. So it was like a history of yo-yo dieting, either obsession or restriction around food, fear of food, guilt about eating,
social situations,
avoiding social situations where food is involved, everything. I was just like, yep, that's my whole life. And pretty much she's resolved all of her issues with disordered eating with a low carb, high fat diet and eating to satiety and that sort of thing, which, you know, that is awesome, and she uses that in her practice to help people because she's a dietitian. And certainly that has, like,
it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, has definitely helped me in that respect, but it's still something that I struggle with all the time.
Yeah.
And I will probably for the rest of my life. But yeah, I guess I'd never thought of myself as in that respect.
Yeah.
And like, just that I'd sort of called it more emotional eating, but it's like, it's not emotional eating from the point of view as like, oh, I'm sad, I want to eat. I certainly have that, but this was like a whole separate kind of feelings around eating and stuff. So
okay, takeaway number 5. There was quite a few talks on type 1 diabetics, and when I saw that in the program, I was kind of like, oh, it's not going to really resonate with me. I'm not a type 1 diabetic, and I don't really know anyone much who's a type 1 diabetic, and it doesn't really affect my life. But just from the talks, there was probably 3 or 4 different talks around type 1 diabetes, and man, it must be so hard to manage your insulin, the food that you're eating, whether you're low carb or not. By the sounds of it, to me, I wasn't even aware of the basal insulin versus the bolus insulin, like that they took a long-acting insulin kind of at the start of the day.
Like a set of baseline.
They just kept it at a baseline, and then when they ate, they take more insulin to counteract the food that they've had. It would just be really, really difficult.
Yeah, like we were lining up for lunch because they had lunch included one day, and I'm just like, if you're type 1 diabetic, how do you handle this situation?
Well, you don't know.
You've just got to estimate what carbs are in this meal to then work out how much insulin to take. Like, I'd never thought of how difficult that must be, just living in day-to-day life.
Right at the end of the talks today, a mum got up and talked about the experience that she had when her eldest daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and the lack of support, education, understanding, willingness to help these parents learn about the condition and insulin and what was required. It was just like, do what we tell you. And she was amazing. Her story, her daughter's story.
Seeing a doctor online in America who has helped her with
developing the right insulin doses for them, doing a low carb diet and how to manage it properly, and
they've had
it looks like the girl
improvements
is thriving, so that's awesome as well.
Cool. Okay, number 6. The last talk was actually Dr. Peter Bruckner, who is the former doctor of the Australian cricket team. Big deal.
Did you know who the guy was?
I had no idea who
Usman Khawaja.
Alright, he spoke about a specific cricketer who had a knee problem, but his talk was about inflammation, and there was a couple of things I took away from it. He was going through a lot of research about particular foods and whether they're inflammatory or anti-inflammatory, and the one thing I was super happy about, dairy, not inflammatory. Basically, inflammation is, you know, impacts most major diseases that people die from, like cancer, heart disease, autoimmune diseases.
Everything.
The list went on. So it's really important to keep inflammation down in your body. And one really good way of doing that is by being in ketosis and using ketones. So that was interesting. That was part of the research that he showed. And the third thing that I found really interesting was actually that when you have body fat, so visceral fat around your stomach, particularly, the fat cells, so the adipose tissue, actually like gives off inflammatory cells. This is my basic explanation of it. Not only that, it also reduces your capacity to produce, your body to produce anti-inflammatories. So the obesity itself is causing inflammation. Like the fat on your body as well as what you're eating. So they'll kind of like, what comes first, the inflammation or the obesity?
Fat, or is the obesity causing the inflammation?
Yeah, so certainly losing weight is important, but also avoiding sugars, refined carbohydrates, and omega-6 fats. So that's all your seed oils, which those things we try and keep out of our diet as much as possible. So it's just kind of reinforced.
And it resonates with you because you have known that your inflammation has gone down since
oh my gosh,
since you lost the weight, and it actually went down quicker than the weight.
Yes, definitely. And even not, I guess, yeah, with my knees, like, because before we started on, like, before we started losing weight, before we started low carb, I had incredible pain in my knees,
just to get out of bed,
which I thought was from carrying around all the weight. But within weeks of starting low carb, that had dramatically improved, and it obviously wasn't from weight because I hadn't lost that much weight in that time, but it was just the inflammation in my body.
And your ankles and your feet, all of that is much better.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a good one.
Okay, what number are we up to? 7? Number 7. My next takeaway is from the talk from Doran Sher. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and he is part of the low carb doctors with Dr. Paul Mason, and he was talking about dealing with joint pain, knee replacements, and how he has been instructing his patients to try a low carb diet before surgery.
So using weight loss rather than
surgery. Before surgery, he gives them the opportunity to try and rectify their pain through a low carb diet prior to surgery. I have an obvious history in my family of joint pain. My grandmother has had all of her joints replaced, I think, her hips, her shoulders. I'm not sure if she's had her knees, but her knees aren't great.
Osteoarthritis that she
had? I don't know, but she has had multiple replacements of more than one joint.
She struggles with a lot
and
of pain.
She is in a lot of pain still, even with the surgeries. My mum is now about to embark on her first knee replacement, and she is also in a lot of pain. So I feel like I'm on the right track to avoid that future by sticking to a low carb diet. And I also feel like lifting heavy at CrossFit is building the strength in my joints and my muscles and the support that my joints need to, again, try and avoid or even prolong that happening. Like if it happens at 80 instead of 60, like my mum's 60, then that's a better outcome for me.
And it wasn't even necessarily about the weight loss in his patients either. It was the reduction in the inflammation, and then also the impact that the sugar had on kind of that lining in the knee or something. So it wasn't even necessarily that his patients lost huge amounts of weight, but just changing to the like a low carb anti-inflammatory diet saw dramatic improvements in their pain, which was just amazing.
Yeah, so that was my next big takeaway. We're up to
number 8. So Dr. Finney did an awesome kind of workshop, they called it, at the end, where he had kind of a couple of slides just as like talking points, and then people could ask questions. And one of the questions that someone asked was about why do some people have just ketones much lower than other people. So for example, with Dan and I, Dan's
we
ketones,
eat the same food.
Yeah, so we pretty much eat similar food, but Dan's ketones are always a lot higher than mine, except
when we fasted.
Except when we're on the fast.
Day 4 of the fast, Erika was higher than me. Every other single time in the 2 years we've tested, I've been higher.
And I guess when we tested them when we first started, I was thinking today, mine were always really low. Like I would be lucky if I got, you know,
0.1, 0.2.
Oh, a bit higher than that, but never over 1, right? At least now when I'm testing them, I'm getting 1, 1.5, even more 2 regularly. So that the reasons that Steve Finney said that people's ketones would be affected, one of them was insulin resistance. So the more insulin resistant you are, the more difficult it is for your body to make ketones. So I definitely would have been insulin resistant when we started on keto. I'm hoping that not eating sugar all this time has improved that, and I know my blood sugars are in, like, you know, normal to even low sometime range, so that's good. What was the other thing? Exercising, yeah. So generally people exercising have higher, let me check because I wrote it down. Was it exercise, the other one? Inflammation. So yeah, exercising generally higher. So Dan does more exercise than
especially
me. Like in CrossFit, like hard. I go for like a little walk.
CrossFit for about 18 months.
Yeah, so I guess there's that, and also acute inflammation. So not necessarily that would be the case, but if you're sick, if you have an infection or, you know, a wound or something like that, your ketones will be low. So I just thought that was interesting to know. And
at the start you were probably just sicker than you thought you were.
Oh yeah,
like
I was just not. I didn't have
or whatever. But
oh yeah, it was just the inflammation.
Yeah.
I had chronic inflammation, not acute inflammation. But yeah, it's interesting to see that my blood ketones now are much higher than they were when we started. But
which
still,
hopefully means the insulin resistance
still
is
theirs are always higher. But yeah, I thought that was and I've always wondered about that. And I guess people also asked, is there any benefit to being higher? So, you know, 2 versus 1, 1 versus 0.5. They don't really know. They don't really know. No. So,
don't go
just
chasing your
aim
ketones.
for 0.5, between 0.5 and above, 0.5 and 3, I think he said. Is like his ideal range. Yeah, that's...
Okay, number 9 for me. Okay, so Dr. Damasi, well, you may have talked about her before. She is the Catalyst journalist, but she's also a rheumatologist. And her talk was around evidence and in scientific evidence, kind of, what would you call it?
Scientific research.
Yeah, evidence into scientific research and how you identify good research versus bad research.
That was actually interesting for I guess people who don't read scientific papers for a living. It was quite easy to follow along with. And
I just found, like, you have to be so careful with media reports and the stuff that you hear about on the news, because a lot of it is based on epidemiology studies, is that how you say it? And they are a lot of the time just recounts of people what over
the last year, how many times a day did you eat an apple? Like
I couldn't tell you
what these scientific studies are based on, people recalling what they've eaten over a long period of time.
So you want to look for systematic reviews, or at least controlled randomized controlled trials. So they have much more
stringent
in the research community. And there are websites that you can go to and check if they're on the database, particular
it used to be that you didn't have to kind of
2008 I think she said
register when you did a study, and then if it doesn't turn out in your favour, you just don't publish it and no one knows about it. But now you actually have to register your trial. You still don't have to publish it, but people can contact you and say, hey, what happened with this? I guess it's up to you what information you provide, but it's a step forward. Okay, number 10 was again from Steve Finney's workshop this afternoon. Was around sodium and potassium and what specific amounts that you should be having. And I guess more recently we've been more more aware of our electrolytes, because when we did the kind of carnivore zero carb month, we really, like, I struggled a lot with mine, and I haven't known, and I guess we've been doing more fasting as well, so it's like, how much salt should I be having, and can you have too much? And I guess with potassium, how do you even know? So it was good. He said he had some research around it, and between 5 to 8 grams of salt.
Sodium.
Not
salt.
That is double. So 10 to 16 grams of actual salt.
Because salt is sodium chloride, so it's half sodium, half chloride.
And that is dependent on your activity exertion level. So if you're just a sedentary, you're more around the 5 grams of sodium.
If you're sweating and leaking salt out through,
or like super CrossFit person, more towards the 8 grams of sodium. But yeah, that's sodium specifically. So if you're having salt, then it's double that because it's sodium chloride. And then with potassium, 1 to 2 grams per day. And the best way he was talking about having that was light salt, which is a particular salt you can get that's half sodium chloride, half potassium chloride. And you can use that in place of regular salt. And he also talked about broth being a good potassissium supplement, and vegetables. If I wasn't
scared to ask him a question, I was going to ask him, because he was talking some of that around the carnivore diet, and how his biggest concern around the carnivore diet is potassium. And
because
I wanted
potassium normally comes from vegetables, it seems.
I wanted to know if you ate organ meat, or even maybe bone marrow, whether that would be enough, whether you could get potassium that way. But so I was petrified of talking on the microphone in front of all those doctors and smart people, so I didn't.
But yeah, that is our top 10 takeaways. Obviously that was, what was relative to us and what we took away. There was so much more information than that.
There was a lot of information.
And some of it I would love to tell you about, but I probably couldn't explain it properly. But we've had such a great time just hanging out with like-minded people. It was a lot. I think probably it is more aimed at doctors, medical professionals, because some of it was a bit over our head.
So some of it was over our head, but I still enjoyed it. And you still take stuff away, even if you don't take something away from every talk. You still come away, feeling like you're on the right track, I guess. That's part of it.
Exactly. It's just like affirmation. Okay, what I'm doing is the best thing for my health. Like the speakers were speaking about like using a low carb, high fat or keto diet for all sorts of medical conditions. And I guess because of us just using it for weight loss, that's what I think of, and then maybe type 2 diabetes. But they were talking about chronic fatigue, all sorts of different, using it for people with osteoarthritis and people with mental health conditions. So yeah, it's just so interesting, all of the applications and how it really does seem to be the right track for healthy.
It's the right thing for us.
For your health, not just for weight loss.
Okay, so
that is our very long Low Carb Down Under wrap up. We hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions about,
or if you were here, what your takeaways were, what your favorite speakers were, any of that. We'd love to hear your experience of Low Carb Down Under as well.
Yes, so like this video and subscribe to our channel. We've got new videos coming out every Sunday and a recipe every Wednesday. And also check out the Low Carb Down Under YouTube channel, because they have a massive library. And
we'll link it below.
And there's loads of really interesting talks on there. Watch Dr. Paul Mason, you won't regret it.
All right guys, bye.